Today I want to talk about, should you sell your ebook as cheaply as possible? And should you include it with your paperback, as in linked together? Well, me personally, you'll have to excuse my voice today. I've got a bit of a cold, as if my Northern English accent isn't hard enough for you to listen to. But me personally, I don't like selling ebooks to a book as cheaply as I possibly can. And there's a lot of reasons for that. There have been times where I've put an ebook out, not as cheaply as possible, but reasonably priced, quite cheap, but not as cheap as I could. And I've not linked the two books. So basically, it's an idea. If that's what you want to do and you're not 100% sure of your book, which you should be before putting it up, you should be 100% sure that you've done everything right, the book reads well. If you've got any doubt at all, don't put it up, because the reader will see why you had those doubts. It will be staring them right in the face, and that's when you'll get your bad reviews. So try to make it as good as you possibly can. Well, that's not always so easy when you've created the product, you've wrote the book, because you're biased, aren't you, really? So you're going to like your work, but at the same time, you're going to be unsure. You're going to want people to read it, and maybe that's not a bad idea. Get people to proofread it. Even friends and family for this, because they're not having to give you reviews or anything, but they'll give you an opinion. Ideally, friends or people who know the subject you're talking about. That way, you're going to get an honest review. They're going to say, well, yeah, it's all right, but what you could do is change this. I thought you'd have said more about that. And I think that's the way to go. I mean, I've learned these mistakes myself, putting things out there and thinking, yeah, okay, and then getting the feedback, when really you could have done with the feedback before you put the product out. So, yeah, that's the way I would go. Keep them separate if you have any doubt at all. Or if you're so happy with your product that you don't want anything to damage it. You don't want somebody getting something for next to nothing, then giving you a bad review for it, saying, I got it for free and it's just as well, so I've given it 1 star or whatever. And you'll read those reviews. You've probably read them yourself. And you think, well, you got something for nothing. And, I mean, to get a really bad review, to get a 1-star review, really, I mean, you'd have to have loads of typos. You have to have the subject matter all wrong. You'd have to have all kinds of issues. I mean, that's why I like to separate an ebook from a paperback or hardback or hardcover until I'm sure that everything's going well. What I do is when you automatically publish your book and your ebook, Amazon will automatically link those 2 books. And if they haven't, you can request it. So if they have, then unlink them. This is what I would do. This is what I do. Unlink them. Make the ebook as cheaply as possible. Enroll it into the Kindle Unlimited project, where members actually read these things. It's included in their subscription. And so they class it as free. It's not free, obviously, is it? Because they've subscribed. But they can read a lot of matter and make reviews accordingly. Or they could just get a little bored and they've go to the next book and the next book. So when people buy a paperback, they've invested more money. They've invested in something physical. And they'll want to read it. They'll want to read it all the way through if they can, if they're enjoying it. An ebook, it's not costing much. It might not cost anything really through the Kindle Unlimited, so they can just go through it. Yeah, well, I can't, it doesn't keep me interest, and you get a bad review. So the first thing I do, like I say, split them up. Let the ebook run wild and cheaply, and if it gets a lot of bad reviews, or if it gets bad reviews, whereas your paperback is getting good reviews, mostly good reviews, your ebook's getting far too many bad reviews, then you keep them apart. But if your ebook has got a lot of good reviews and similar to your paperback, then link them back again, and that's a simple request to Amazon. I think it's pretty much automated as well, so there's an automated function there. Now, at the same time, by putting an ebook out cheap, as cheap as you possibly can, so there's very little profit, if any, it's kind of an advertisement. So it's got its benefits. You're pushing it out there. It can get to bestseller a lot easier in a lot of circumstances than the paperback, and especially the hardback copy would if they're standalone products. And let's say, for instance, your ebook made bestseller, you can still link those two books. Now, you can put that in your description to say there's an ebook version also available on Amazon or Lulu or Ingram Spark or whoever it is you've got it with. And that could help in the short term, just to keep them apart. And if you're not bothered, if you're 100% sure everything's fine, stick them both together to start with. Let Amazon just link them both up. If Amazon haven't, request that they do.